If you have ever felt like you're living paycheck to paycheck, even though you make really good money, this is the episode that you are going to want to listen all the way to the end. We are going to share with you a bunch of examples from our clients, from ourselves, where that has been the narrative and like the feeling in the money management, the money habits, the money feelings that are happening in your situation. When in reality, it's usually so much different. It just takes a bit of perspective shifting and knowing your numbers to get out of that mentality so that you can free up the brain space that you need to be able to focus on what actually matters to help you grow your business, create more wealth for yourself, chase after your goals, just have more energy to put towards what really matters rather than allowing your energy to be consumed with this paycheck to paycheck mentality. I want to share that I shared this in our masterclass that I thought as a baby coach when I had first transitioned to this online world that I was not making enough money to be able to expand my business. I needed to invest in some help on the back end. I was feeling really desperate for that. It was like the number one thing on my goal list. And yet the story that I was telling myself was, well, I couldn't afford that. No, there's no chance that I could afford to hire somebody. And it was once I dove into my numbers with Becca as a student going through Mind Her Business that I realized I was making double what I was telling myself I was making. So here I was thinking I was making, I think I said I thought it was $5,000 to $7,000 a month is kind of where I thought I was at. And in reality, I was making between $9,000 and $13,000 a month consistently. So there is often what we see is there's often a huge gap between reality and the feelings, especially when it comes to money. And when it comes to money management, there's just no room for basing decisions on feelings because numbers don't lie. Numbers are black and white. And we see this as a pattern. And so our goal is definitely to help you get the facts and the data and the hard numbers in front of you so that then you can start making really confident CEO level decisions for your business, for your life. Becca, I know that we had a client who came to us in a similar situation that I was in mentality wise. Do you want to share a little bit about her circumstance?
Yeah, she came to us literally saying she was living paycheck to paycheck. Like those were the words coming out of her mouth. And so when we asked her a bunch of questions, we really wondered if that was fact or if that was what she was telling herself. And so she entered the program, and within 24 hours, she sent us a DM saying that, you guys, I was $1,000 short of hitting my very first 10K month, and I had no idea. I genuinely thought I was living paycheck to paycheck. And so a little backstory on her is that she had debt that was weighing on her. It's not a ton of debt. It's not crushing debt, but it's enough debt for her to feel like that's making me feel like I'm living paycheck to paycheck, right? So she was concentrating on what she thought she didn't have, and she was not focused on what she was actually bringing in. And I also want to remind you that this was a brand new business owner. She has a studio. I don't think she'd even opened the studio yet when she made that 9,000. She was in the process. She was going through like inspections and stuff to open up her studio. And I just want to remind you, this is a really good reminder that your brain is designed to keep you safe, right? And the way that your brain keeps you safe sometimes is telling you that you don't have enough so that you go and try to make more, right? And this isn't just about money. This is everything under the sun. The numbers are what's going to give you the facts. The numbers are going to give you the true story. Your emotions lie to you on a consistent basis. Your emotions are there to keep you safe. The numbers are actually what's going to give you the data you need to make decisions. So we talk about data over drama all the time. Data over drama, like put it on my tombstone, data over drama, because when you attach your emotions to the decision making, none of the decisions they don't feel good. They feel like they don't make sense. You second guess yourself. Maybe you have buyer's remorse. Maybe that's when you second guess all of your decisions, and then you don't feel confident as a business owner, you don't feel confident as a person who manages money, it just starts you on a downward spiral because your emotions are what are driving your decisions. We want your emotions to be attached to the goal. We want your emotions to be attached to the why. Like, why does this goal matter to you? What is it going to get me when I get to this goal? That's where we want your emotions attached, right? So when you feel like you're living paycheck to paycheck, there's no way that you can even remotely think about the end goal because you're just surviving. You're in survival mode every single day. And paycheck to paycheck feeling is a mentality. Yes, there are a lot of people who actually live paycheck to paycheck. That's a that's always going to be, right? There are going to be people who live paycheck to paycheck. But our clients who come to us are almost never actually living paycheck to paycheck. It's just a feeling that they carry around.
Yeah. We were just talking about before we hit record here that we're like conditioned to live paycheck to paycheck. When we are kids, our first jobs, I mean, 99.99% of us are paid every 2 weeks. We get a part time job and you're expecting that paycheck every other Friday. And so you are conditioned to really think about 2 weeks at a time and making that money last those 2 weeks. And then you count down until payday. And so that you can have that, chunk hit your account. And then you've got all these new choices and options available to you until it dwindles down. And then you get to try again. And so then, of course, we move into our careers where we're now making more money, but it's still every other week, paycheck, literally paycheck to paycheck. You're just kind of counting down the 2 weeks. And that can lead you to going into your entrepreneurial journey, focusing so narrowly on those 2 weeks, or going, I have no idea how to pay myself because somebody else isn't just handing me a black and white number every 2 weeks. I have to now make decisions on how much am I paying myself? When am I transferring that money? Most of our clients come to us just sort of pulling money out of the account as they need, and they're not really creating those boundaries and those systems that they had when they were getting a paycheck that was consistent. So there can be a lot of these like now new decisions you have to make when you're an entrepreneur. There's this 2 week narrow mindedness that we have, and it prevents us from stepping back as the CEO and looking at the business on a 12-month or 24-month scale or quarterly even, and going, what's possible? What are my averages? How much do I make in January versus July? Is there a pattern? Is it the same? Is it different? Is it consistently different? Numbers give you data to be able to start looking bigger picture and getting out of that narrow 2 weeks period to being able to start looking at trends within your income, trends within your sales, trends within your monthly recurring revenue, so that you can kind of take a deep breath, which is what happens when you start looking bigger and zooming out. You get to take a deep breath and like exhale a deep breath and go, wow, I have so much more that I'm working with here than I thought. And so we get to step away from those emotions of that paycheck to paycheck mentality that we're used to that keeps us safe because it's what we grew up with. And then we get to start looking at things differently. But that doesn't come naturally because no one has taught you how to do that yet. That's what we want you to learn.
Yeah. Well, we just went through this in our business. We were looking at the numbers and we have just invested a good chunk of money in different areas in the last 2 to 3 months, right? So it feels like a lot of money is going out of the business, and it doesn't necessarily feel like a lot of that money is coming back into the business yet. That's how it feels. And what happened was we pulled up the spreadsheet, we pulled up the numbers, and we were like, oh, but like, yeah, but we're good. We planned on these based on these numbers. We planned on these investments based on what we already had coming in without a single new sale coming in. Like, that's not, we don't ever make decisions on, okay, we're going to spend this money on an investment. We're going to invest in this thing, and we now need 3 new people. Like, that's not the vibe. You cannot make decisions like, I'm going to spend this money and I need a return on investment immediately. And that's how you can start playing the business game when like, yes, you need to invest. Every business owner needs to invest at some point in time in many different areas, right? But if you're making these decisions, like, I'm going to invest and I need this back like tomorrow because I have bills to pay. That is not the confident decision making that we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's like a it's I hate saying this word. But it's like it's paycheck to paycheck, but it's also like scarcity mentality. Like, I need that money back today.
Yeah. So to give it a little bit like of an example, when we're looking at investments that we've made or are making or are looking at making, we never look at the number that we have in the bank account today. We don't even open our bank account when we're making decisions. We look at our numbers. So like we have a spreadsheet that we use to track what's coming in, what's going out. And we can project our income for the next 12 months based on averages, based on monthly recurring revenue, based on what we know we have planned, based on seasons of sales. When there's, Black Friday, for example, that's a month where there's usually an increase by a substantial amount in sales. If you are a business that can leverage Black Friday sales. So we look at all of these factors because we have so much data in front of us. And then we look at our expenses and we can project our expenses out for the entire year because we know what they've been in prior years. We know what we're looking at investing in this year. We know what contracts we currently have with service providers that are going to be ending. Do we want to, we can go, okay, do we want to invest in that again? What would that look like? How would that affect our bottom line at the end of the year? Not this month, not this paycheck, not this quarter, but we can really zoom out and make decisions based on the bigger picture of our business, not on the, it's today, do or die. It's how many sales do I need this month to reach this point. We're really always trying to, yes, pay attention to today, which is what we talk about all the time. Like, you have what you have today. So you need to make sure that you're taking care of it. And we want you to be making decisions on what you have today based on what's possible for you over the bigger picture, over the longer period of time. Because if you are truly in this, because you are truly dedicated to this business that you are building and this vision that you have, then you shouldn't be worried about the next 90 days, right? They're just the next 90 days out of the next 5 years because you are in this all in committed.
Well, looking at the day to day is like a magnifying glass, right? You're zoomed all the way in to what's happening today. What money is leaving your account today? How much does that leave you left in the account? Am I going to be able to afford to pay my bills tomorrow? Do I have more money coming in? There are lots of swirling questions when you're zoomed all the way in the day to day. What happens is when you have the day to day and you have the bird's eye view of the whole year, now you get to balance some things out. Okay, yes, today I invested a lot of money and I still have $5,000 in payments coming in this month. I still have, in the next 90 days, I still have $20,000 coming in. So it's a good way to relax your brain a little bit. Like, okay, calm down. Yes, you spent a lot of money today on something that is eventually going to be a return on investment in time or money or both, right? And that's the other thing. Like, return on investment is, we live in such an instant gratification society. Return on investment is almost never immediate in business. It's almost never immediate. That's the one thing that I want you to hear. And the other thing is, Marley said project earlier. And I've heard so many people go, what, like, project? What does that even mean? Like, only Fortune 500 companies can project. I want to read you the definition of project. It means to estimate or forecast something based on present trends or data. So think of meteorologists. They're getting data every single day and they are forecasting 7 days of weather based on the data that they're getting. If the data changes, the forecast changes also. If the data stays the same, the forecast stays the same, right? So if you can look at your numbers, I've never thought about this before, but like, if you look at your numbers as if you're a meteorologist, they change things all the time. Nothing stays the same with the weather. The data is always changing. So projection literally means to forecast or to estimate. And so that's not a buzzword to be scared of. It's not something that you couldn't do today.
And I think I love that analogy, because there's always surprises with the weather, of course. And there's always surprises. And I'll say surprises because we did a whole episode on unexpected expenses are never unexpected, right? Like you should expect the unexpected when it comes to
Right.
money and, things breaking around the house. Um, but that is such a great analogy because the weather is so similar to our money. We had another client who told us she thought she was paying herself, I think, like $2,000 to $3,000 a month, and it turned out she was actually paying herself. Was it more like five?
It was like 5 to 7 depending on the month.
Right. And she hadn't. She was someone who, when she was talking to us in the beginning, when we hadn't looked at her numbers yet, she was just getting into the program. She was just starting to gather her numbers, collect her data, have consistent money dates. She was really living in this paycheck to paycheck mentality. And we were like, okay, she's someone who probably does need a little bit more sales to like bring up to where, blah, blah, blah. And, because you can either take care of what you have or make more money. Like those are your two choices. And I was like, oh, it sounds like she does need to like really rev up some revenue. We can see that happening for her. She's really good at what she does. Like, it's just a matter of time. She's brand new baby business. Well, when we were like, can you show us your spreadsheet so we really can see like the hard data of what we're looking at? She was already hitting consistent at this time, $7,000-8,000 months. And we were like, we thought you were making pennies, like $2,000 a month. She was killing it in business. But her story that she was carrying was that she was barely getting by and that she could almost not afford groceries. And this is not afford groceries, but like groceries were something she had to really pay close attention. Like all those little details were starting to really weigh on her. And I think what is so interesting in this is that, I mean, she clearly was making enough money, clearly. She didn't have a family, of 6 mouths to feed, so she definitely had enough with her income alone. She definitely just didn't know what was going on with her numbers. And what we see, and this is not her solely, this was multiple clients, we could list out all of them right now. They are blaming their business for their personal spending. And so what that means is that they'll tell themselves, I'm only paying myself this small amount, even though my business is making a lot, but the money's gone. They're like, but I don't know where all the money's going. Even though I only paid myself, let's say use this example of $8,000 a month in revenue. Well, I'm only paying myself $2,000, but I don't have enough money at the end of the month to, pay a bill. So where's the other six? And generally what we see is that they're like, well, I paid off my credit card. So I don't have that money to pay myself. But that credit card generally isn't a business credit card. Those are generally like personal expenses, but they're just not considering it income because they're mismanaging the money. They're not, truly paying themselves and then paying their personal expenses and separating business from personal finances. And they're really messy and intertwined. And then your mind and the stories you tell yourself are really messy and intertwined. And it doesn't feel easy and clean and fresh the way that your money should and can. And so this paycheck to paycheck mentality often comes from messy money. You are making good money, when you are making consistent income and you feel paycheck to paycheck, it is usually because your money is messy.
And then your brain starts going, my business doesn't make enough money. I need to make more sales. And then you're desperate for sales. And what happens when we're desperate for sales? Nothing.
So,
Nothing happens
yeah.
because everybody can tell that you have dollar signs in your eyes and they are not going to buy from you. And the other thing that I asked a client the other day was, if your clients knew your money situation behind the scenes, would they still hire you? She was like, no, they would not. And I said, well, would you hire you if you knew that your money was like this unorganized in the back? And I know that sounds like a harsh question. And I guess it could be depending on the way that you ask it. But I really sit with that. If Marley and I are selling Mind Her Business, which is like money coaching and then business decision making, and our money is a hot freaking mess behind the scenes, and you found out, what would happen? Like, our credibility would be shot.
Yeah.
So your business is no different. You may not be a money coach. You may not be a business coach. You may do something entirely different. But if your customers or clients found out that you did not know how to manage money and they're paying you on a consistent basis, you lose credibility.
Yeah. I think that's really powerful, because I know that even you as a money coach at one point sat with, oh, I made an investment which put our business back into debt. We've told this story on the podcast before. And you had a hard time sitting with, like, does that make me
So
incredible?
bad. It was
Incredible. That's
so
not
bad.
unincredible,
I'm always incredible.
lacking credibility, but so there's what I want to say out of that is, like, you are going to be going through like an evolution of skill building for the rest of your career. And even our money management isn't perfect. I run multiple businesses and they have all taken a different, like, the money management within each of them has been a different evolution, and they have all felt paycheck to paycheck at some point, especially when they're brand new and they're babies and you're learning this business needs this system and this business. But the core of money management and decision making has always been the same, and the skills that you can bring into your any business that you have, any business in any niche. My husband and I run a waste management company, and I have been in the makeup industry, and I have now been an online coach. Like, I have worked in all these different fields. The core of money management doesn't change. And Becca and I have made all the mistakes that there are to make, and we have felt paycheck to paycheck in different seasons, and we have struggled or wrestled with the the doubts and the insecurities that all of our clients have dealt with. And that's why we feel so passionate and so equipped, because we have navigated through that paycheck to paycheck mentality. And I want to say, like, it hasn't gone away for us. We're growing a multi six-figure business right now. We have our eyes set on $500,000 and $1 million business over the next 24 months. And yet we're still having to check ourselves and go, okay, let's go back to the data. Let's go back to the numbers, because that is the skill and the mindset that it takes to grow a really profitable business and to build wealth for yourself, is to know your numbers, to know when to bring your emotions into your decision making, when to take them out, and what real hard data you need to be able to look at to decide, am I worthy of feeling successful? Because ultimately, that bottom line is what is causing our clients to feel and own the success they've created or not. And most of them are undervaluing themselves emotionally, which is then showing up in how they're making decisions in their business.
As you hit different levels of business, your money systems will change. You get to change those based on the level of money you're making, the level of money you're investing, the level of money you're saving or profiting. Your system will change. But like, knowing how to manage your money will never change. That is the skill to know in order to make it to different levels of business. I'm going to say that again. Money management is the number one skill that you have to have in order to make it to another level of business, in order to make it 5 levels of business. We had a client who said, now that I know where all my money is going, and that I get to decide where it goes, I can now see how hitting $1 million is possible, when I never could have imagined that before, because I knew that I wouldn't be able to manage the money that came in. So just think about that. You're going to have to manage money the rest of your life, whether you own this business the rest of your life or not, whether you start a new business, whether you are on Social Security when you're older, right? Like, you're still going to need to know how to manage that money so that you have exactly what you need and more to be able to live the lifestyle that you want. So we're going to close this out today by giving you 2 options. We have our Find 5,000 challenge, which will help you find $5,000, if not more. We had someone who looked at the challenge last week. Not looked at it. She worked her way through the challenge. She only looked at things for 10 minutes and found $4,200. 10 minutes, $4,200. Yes,
This
please.
is someone who manages her money consistently and
Who
still found gaps.
and still found gaps. This is what I'm talking about, always needing to change or look at your system. It's like parenting, right? Your kids get to different phases and you're like,
I
dang
just had
it,
it figured out in the last one.
yeah, the rules are changing again. Yeah, that's literally because I'm going through a phase right now with my kids, and it's like, well, this one can end any minute now.
Tell me this is a phase.
Tell me this is a phase. But where was I going with this? Find 5,000 challenge. Take the challenge. Please take the challenge. Even if you only find $1,000 or only find $2,000, you guys, that's $1,000 or $2,000 you didn't have 10 minutes ago. That now you get to decide what you want to do with that. And we are running our masterclass live again on March 26th. So click in the show notes, sign up for the masterclass, and come see everything that is possible for you on the other side of getting control of your money.